Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, everybody, how you doing today? This is Daniel here from Kunini Electrical and Solar EPC Services. I thought I'd jump on here and do a quick video today to explain the difference between the batteries and the hybrid systems that a lot of people are asking us for these days. And just to clarify a few points, we get a lot of customers call us up and say to us, I'm really interested in a solar hybrid system. I want to have batteries to run the whole house. I want to go off grid. I want to be able to be totally independent from the grid. And you know, all these things are nice, but it is possible, but it really just comes down to budget. We as a company, we don't do totally off-grid systems. And the reason we don't do total off-grid systems is because you need some sort of backup system for the solar hybrid backup system, if you like. You need to be able to charge the batteries. And if you've got a really cloudy day, then maybe you're not going to have a chance to charge the batteries. And if you're totally off grid, then the grid can't help you to charge the batteries. So then you're going to need a generator or something similar to be able to charge the batteries up as well. So we steer completely away from off-grid systems. But what we do is we do solar hybrid systems. And there's two types of solar hybrid systems really. There's the residential systems, and then you've got the commercial systems. We've done both, and the main difference really is to do with the output from the size of the inverter, how much load you can actually run, and then the batteries themselves, how big they are and how many do you need to be able to run for a certain period of time. When we look at solar hybrids on a residential, we won't talk about commercial scale systems here. But when we talk about the residential systems, we'll basically be talking about a 5 kilowatt system and a 10 kilowatt system. Whether they're single phase or three phase, let's not just get into those details. Let's just talk about a 5 kilowatt inverter and talk about a 10 kilowatt inverter. With a 5 kilowatt hybrid inverter, you have an output of 5,000 watts. With a 10 kilowatt inverter, you have an output of 10,000 watts, or 10 kilowatts or 5 kilowatts, whatever you want to say. So with those numbers, you can then say, okay, obviously with a 5 kilowatt system, 5,000 watts, you're not going to be able to run a lot of stuff in the house. With a 10 kilowatt system, you're not going to be able to run a lot of stuff in the house as well, because you have to look at the size of the loads. So when we talk about, let's say talk about lighting, and you've got 7 watt LEDs, and maybe you've got 10 of them in the house, that's 70 watts. Maybe you've got 20, that's 140 watts. A water pump so that you can have a shower when the power's out, that's another 400 watts, 600 watts. Refrigerator maybe around 600 watts to 1 kilowatt. Aircon, small aircon, maybe around 1.8, 2.5 to 2.5 kilowatts, depending on the size. So you can see there's quite a lot of limitations to what you can actually run on the solar hybrid system. Other things you don't put onto the solar hybrid system is things like the hot water system, 6 kilowatts, 6,000 watts, couldn't run off of a 5 kilowatt anyway. And off of a 10 kilowatt system, 3-phase, it couldn't run also, because you've broken down 3.3 kilowatts per phase for a 10 kilowatt 3-phase system. So limitations: ovens, big ovens, 3.5 kilowatts, pool pumps, 2 kilowatts. These sort of things don't run on the hybrid system. Or should we say they don't run on the battery part of the hybrid system. They're still connected to the solar, still connected to the whole house, and you can run the whole house in the daytime, solar first. But if the grid goes down, what loads are critical that you want to run off of the battery? This is really where we are. So when we talk to customers, we say, right, generally you should put all the lighting, definitely. You should put refrigeration on. You should put your water pump on, possibly one small aircon, and then socket outlets for maybe ceiling fans, for wall fans, for your internet, for your router, those sort of stuff. That typically would come to, on a 5 kilowatt system, would come to like maybe around 4 kilowatts, and maybe on a 10 kilowatt system, those total loads might come to around 6 or 7 kilowatts. It really depends. Each site is completely different. But when we talk about the battery itself, is a typical configuration is a 5 kilowatt battery with a 5 kilowatt system, 10 kilowatt battery with a 10 kilowatt system. So if you talk about 5,000 watts with a 5 kilowatt hour battery, you've got 1 hour. If you talk about a 10 kilowatt system with a 10 kilowatt hour battery, you've got 1 hour. at 10 kilowatts or at 5 kilowatts full. So if you broke that down and said, okay, my critical loads on a 5 kilowatt system are 2.5 kilowatts, then that battery will last you 2 hours. And if you did 5 kilowatt load on a hybrid system with 10 kilowatts, then you would have 2 hours back up on that. So it really depends. Every configuration is different in a way, but they're all quite similar with our recommendation when we talk to the customer about what they need to put on. The systems need to be set up in such a way that they're actually got some fail-safe as well, because if you're going to put all your critical loads through the battery and then the battery has an issue or the inverter shuts down, there should be an ATS or an automatic transfer switch in place which flips it straight over to the grid should there ever be a fault. So that's it really. That's just a quick solar talk today, talking about hybrid systems, 5 kilowatts